What I hold in my hand are meant to be kids' toys. But are they kids' toys or a really clever marketing scheme? So these are from CampSnap. These are their digital disposable cameras. Now, if you're like me, you grew up using disposable cameras, so you know the feeling, you know what they look like, you know the weight, and you also know the price. Coming into 2024, a lot of people out there do not have the budget to go out and shoot film and, you know, get it developed, get it exported onto a USB and put onto your PC, whatever you want to do with it. No one has the budget for that as much as they used to when disposable cameras were a big thing. So to see these all over my Instagram, all over Facebook, all over YouTube, content creators actually getting their hands on them sparked my interest, and I reached out to the guys over there and they were happy enough to send me out both of these, one in a beautiful retro Kodak yellow color and one in a crispy clean white color. Me being a user obviously of a Sony a7C II, I know the abilities that this camera has compared to what these do. But why is it I find myself enjoying shooting on these a lot more than I do on that? So let's jump into the build quality first. And as you all know, disposable cameras, like any other, they are plastic, but it is a very well built, durable plastic, hence being a toy for kids. Now, it's not as fancy as some of the point shooters, like all your Fujifilms, a quick point and shoot, potentially a rangefinder, if you will, where these are meant to be just a gimmick. But instead, I think that gimmick worked out really well for them because they are always selling out. Now, this is on their second batch, I believe. It's recently just come out, and already a lot of the stock has sold out. There is a few limited items left. So if you want to go in the description and see if they're available, definitely do it now before they do all sell out. Cool thing about these is it is a home run business and they are producing some amazing quality stuff. Now, yes, there's a lot of biased people out there on YouTube saying, you know, the quality is crap, the photos are crap. That's because they're using a camera that was worth £3,000 and they're expecting the same quality or even better to come from a camera that's around the $50, $60 mark. I knew what I was getting into. I wanted that feeling. I wanted the bad quality. You know what I mean? Like when I saw this, I thought, I know what I'm getting into. I know why I want to get into it because I love the feeling of retro looking stuff, okay? Hence why I went for the a7C II, because it's got the silver, it looks retro, it just gives that vibe. I actually started collecting retro cameras as well. That's what sort of sparked my interest with this disposable digital camera that you don't actually get rid of, which was mind-blowing. Now, yes, don't get me wrong, there are things on here that I would improve. One being the fingerprint, it shows up all over the back. The oils from your fingers just, they get on there. Two, the viewfinder. It's not very accurate when it comes to pointing out and where you're taking the shot. There is no guidelines within the viewfinder. It is obviously a viewfinder. It's not just a standard piece of glass that you look through or a hole. It has got the magnifier, the little sort of oval piece over the top. But again, it's just not as accurate as I'd like it. So if I'm taking the shot, it feels like it's one, a lot wider than in the viewfinder, and two, just not on the level of where I've placed it. But you can always change that in post anyway, because again, being digital, you can plug this into your PC and transfer your data, but we'll get into that in a moment. Now, the other thing is the flash. With a flash, there is a little button on the back here that's got on, off, and auto. The flash is just an LED. There's no way of describing it. It is just a standard LED that blinks on and blinks off. Now, in certain circumstances, it does do its job and it does work as a flash. It's just not as pinpoint accurate as a flash would be. It sort of just blinds the subject or what you're focusing on, and sometimes can just blow out the whole picture and make it well overexposed or just completely white. So that's why I tend to not really use the flash on these unless I have to, which is rare, because if I'm going to be using these, it's going to be in the daytime, it's going to be when on trips with the family or just out and about. I even put this in my coat pocket sometimes. I just, as I'm going about, taking some snaps, put it back in my pocket, I'll pull over, I'll see something I see, take a snap, back in the pocket, drive on again. So moving on to the lens itself, I feel like it is replicated enough as a disposable camera lens. I've got some of the specs up here so I know I'm getting it correct. So we've got an 8 megapixel CMOS sensor, which to be fair, does do some pretty decent quality for a little 8 megapixel camera. There's some phones back in the day that only used to have 2 megapixels and we used to take photos on them like no one's business. It is a fixed focal length of an f3.2 lens and the battery is 600 milliamps, which is more than enough to get a good amount of photos before it does die on you. Now, I think that's around 200 photos. I think that's what they said. Now, what is the bonus of having such cameras? When we used to use disposable, I think it was around 200 clicks and that was the camera done. Don't hold me to that. It could even been less, to be fair. And that was it. So when you came around taking the photos, you'd take the photo and that would be it. You'd move on to the next thing because you knew if you wasted more, you would have less to use. And as a kid, that was a priority of having so many that you could take. You would really study what you were taking photos of. And it's similar with these because there's no digital screens to overview what you've just taken. So you can't take the snapshots 50,000 times ago. None of them came out okay. With this, it's you take one or two, and that's a bonus as well, but also giving you that nostalgic feeling of not being able to see what you've just taken a photo of and hoping when you get home it's come out okay. Now, I've been learning a completely different style of photography with these compared to using my camera. With my camera, I'll be just shooting away. With these, I actually look at composition. I look at framing. I look at the light. Now, another cool thing about these is you can add 3 different filter types. You've got, I think, vintage, more of like an orangey teal one, and then black and white. Don't hold me to that. I know there's 3. I'll link them down below. And you just input one of them at a time depending on what you want. So I might have one for black and white and one for vintage because the other one I think is standard mode. So that's pretty cool to have with 2 different cameras, so I know that black and white can be on the white one and the vintage will be more on the vintage camera. So that's something that I'm going to look into definitely. But anyway, I digress. And another thing you get with these cameras on arrival is an SD card. Now, they are fitted with 4 gigabytes of SD storage. They are micro SD, so you can change them out if you want. They are screwed in, so if you give it to your kid to play around with, they are not going to take that out and lose it, which is a huge win for the company. Now, because the image quality on here only kicks out about 200 megabytes per photo, I think you can hold up to 2000 on a 4 gigabyte card. Don't hold me to it again, but I'm sure I read that somewhere. Now, another thing I have found about these is they do take quite a while to actually implement taking the photo. Unlike a disposable camera, you wind it up and by the time you've even clicked it, it's taken the photo, the flash has gone off, whatever. With these, when you take the photo, you hold it and you have to stay there for a couple of seconds for it to actually do the photo before moving on, because sometimes you'll take it thinking you've clicked it and then as you move you'll hear the and it's sort of like, oh, I've missed my time. So you really have to be patient with these and take your time. Now, this is what it sounds like when turning them on. So what you have to do is hold the top button here for around 3 seconds and it will make this noise. Now, as you can see on the digital backing, it tells you how many photos you've taken. So I've taken 23 on here, which we're going to go through in a moment. I'm going to show differences between my actual camera and this camera on standard mode. Now, to take the photo, you just click it, but I'll show you what I mean by the delay. So I'll tell you when I've clicked it. Ready? 3, 2, 1, click. And there's a slight delay. That's how long it takes. It's probably around under a second, maybe a second at that, but that delay can really damage a photo when it comes to it, because if someone's walking past and you click it, you have to sort of judge, okay, as they're here, I need to click now for when they come into frame, it takes the shot, if that makes sense. So that was the flash off, but this is the flash on, and this is what I mean by it is just a standard LED little bulb here. Now, don't get me wrong, it's bright. You know, I saw the whole camera flash up. It is bright, but it will blow out that photo like no one's business. Because I've got lights on in the house, the camera would have just reflected the whole whiteness and it would have just blown that photo out. But that is what the flash looks like. I mainly shoot with it off because, again, a lot of the time I'm shooting it's outside or in good lit areas. It also gives you a nice little green indicator on the top here to let you know that it is on. Again, to turn it off, just hold it. And now it's turned off. At the bottom here, you have a little USB-C slot. It does come with a USB-C cable. And what that is for charging the battery and also data transfer. When you are transferring the data, what I found is if you plug in the cable and then turn on your device, it might not show up. So what you want to do is hold the button down for about 2 seconds. It will then pop up as the SD card. Or you can take the SD card out if you really want to and plug it into an SD card reader. I just find it easier just to use the USB-C cable, super quick and super easy. So why are CampSnap cameras becoming so viral in the world of photographers and adults, if you will? Because again, these were meant to be kids' toys. A lot of schools use them for going out on camping trips or doing school holidays, things like that. That's what they were primarily for. But a lot of bigger YouTubers or big photographers are getting their hands on these. And that's how I actually found out about them, is through some other YouTubers. I'm very pleased with them. I couldn't ask for anything better. I think they are the perfect representation of a disposable camera. You know, it gives the quality, it gives that unique feel. They're lightweight, so you put it in your pocket doesn't weigh you down like a big old camera normally would. And again, for the price, I think that's perfectly fine. I think the $50 to $60 mark is absolutely understandable, because the price of film nowadays, to go out and get it developed, and if you miss your shot and have to go out and get another shot, it's just money adding up. It's expensive. These are the alternatives to just doing digital film. And that's why I think they're becoming so big now, because in 2024, a lot of YouTubers are actually switching over to film because Peter McKinnon did it, so everyone else is trying to give it a go. I've never shot film, I've always used disposable cameras, so now it's bringing back that little nostalgic childhood that I used to have with families on trips, and now I can actually bring that to my kids and say, here you go, here's a camera that we used to use, but instead of having to throw it away, I can re-look at this and you can use it again, and I can then look again. And it's just something that you can reuse, saves the environment from all the disposable little cameras that go to landfill and all that stuff, and it's run by a family which you can then help by obviously buying from them. It's just a nice little circle overall. I feel like that's why these have gone really viral, because again, it's a family run company. They bring back nostalgia for all the older YouTubers like me. I'm nearly 30. I know, right? It's just nice to have something like this passed down to my kids and let them have a bit of fun and not worry about damaging a £3,000 camera. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But now let's do a quick little comparison of a normal camera compared to these little digital cameras here. So as you can see, the left side is from the CampSnap camera, and then the right side is again the open lake from my A7C II. CampSnap gives off such a vintage vibe that I absolutely love. A bit of distortion, bit of color mist, and it just looks so good. I took a couple of other shots on here that I'm going to throw up while these are playing. I just want to say a massive thank you to CampSnaps for sending these out and letting me just relive that childhood, and now again giving my kids that option to use such a unique camera and see the world in a different perspective. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, if this is something that you would pick up, and if this is something that you would use as a photographer on a shoot for some behind the scenes or whatever you want to use it for. Let me know in the comments. Remember, capture, create, captivate, and I'll see you all in the next video.